Hey, it's Django from Calvander Sound. Today we're going to be talking about soloing, and specifically we're going to be talking about soloing over chord progressions that include chords that are not in the key. So the first thing when we learn how to solo is we figure out what key something is in, maybe find the scale, maybe it's a pentatonic scale. Play through that scale, and if all the chords are in that same key, then that's fine. We can play and create our solo that way. But what I'm interested in is those times when we come across chords that are a little bit different, that are not within what's called the diatonic harmony of the key. So in other words, the group of chords that fits within a particular key. At this point, we should probably review really quickly what the chords are that are within a key, the diatonic chords. And you can get a handout for this at calvandersound.com. So if we're in the key of C, which is the people's key because there are no sharps or flats, we have C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major or G7, A minor, B7, B minor 7 flat 5 or diminished, half diminished, and then back to C. Now the diminished and half diminished is a rabbit hole that we'll go down another time. We can call it diminished for now. So just kind of getting used to what are the combinations of chords that fit within a key is really a helpful thing. So the 1 chord is major, the 2 chord is minor, the 3 chord is minor, the 4 chord major, the 5 chord major or dominant 7, 6 chord minor, 7 chord diminished or half diminished, and back to major. That's the same in every key. So as long as we're working with chords that have that relationship to each other, we can play one scale over the whole song, no problem. However, a lot of songs don't stick within that little family of chords. And when they don't, your ear can kind of tell. So our example today is Dock of the Bay, the Otis Redding song. So it's an F. And right away it goes to A7. So if F is 1, G is 2, A is 3. Normally it would be minor, but this is 7. So therefore it's not within the key. So that puts up a little red flag and we say, oh, we got to deal with that. And then B flat to G7. B flat was fine, that was the 4 chord, major, cool. G7 is the 2 chord, it should be minor if it were in the key, but it's major. In fact, it's dominant 7. Back to 1, the 3, but made it into a dominant chord, 4, 2 made it into a dominant chord, and then we have F to D minor. So that's 1 to 6, and that's all within the key. So the two places we need to look at are when it goes to the A7 and when it goes to the G7. When a chord is not within the key, what that means is it has at least one note that's not within that scale. So the pentatonic or the major scale. What we need to figure out is what are the notes that are different about these non-diatonic chords, these chords that are borrowed from some other key. In our case of Dock of the Bay, A7 and G7. And as usual, there will be a chart for Dock of the Bay at Calvander Sound you can grab. Let's look at it really quickly. A7, it should be minor if it were within the normal bounds of the key, but it's A7, so that gives us a major third. So that's the big difference. So the major third is a C sharp. So the note that really matters, the note that sticks out is the C sharp, and you can hear it. Here's that F chord. If I hit that C sharp, you can basically hear the chord going by. Now the G is the same deal. It's got a major third rather than a minor third, so that's a B. So our two little target notes are the C sharp when we get to the A chord and the B when we get to the G. So a target note is a note that you know you're going to want to hit at a particular moment. At first, it's going to feel kind of weird having a destination in mind as you're soloing, especially if you're used to soloing just within one scale, say like an F major pentatonic. And all of a sudden you have to think, and We all know that's difficult for guitar players. But once you get used to it, what we want to do is we want to integrate it into what you're already improvising. And by doing that, we kind of smooth over some of those rough edges or those cracks that make it seem like we're thinking. Instead, it just kind of feels like a natural thing that's happening. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to play through Dock of the Bay, those chords and the changes that we just talked about, and you can kind of see how I'm dealing with that, and then we'll talk about it. Okay, so now we've been through a couple of choruses of Dock of the Bay. Let's talk about how we're going to do this. So the first thing is, just like with any other soloing, as you'll know from my other tutorials on soloing, we want to start with a simple phrase and leave lots of space. So we can start with something along the lines of, so I'm working off an F major pentatonic. So if I just have those two notes for the F, if I'm going to the A, what I want to find is, how can I play that same phrase again, but include my target note? So, hey, look, here's my A chord. The shapes of your chords and the location of your chords are a really big clue as to finding how to play over a particular chord. So if I'm down here and I'm going to an A, here's my C sharp. It's in the A chord, just this regular open A chord. So we're going to go. That works great. It helps me develop the idea, but it plays over the new situation. And then going to B flat. B flat's within the key, so we can go, which is just a straight pentatonic. Now what I'm doing is I'm working my way up to where my G chord is, because I know that that's coming next, and I know I want to get there, but I don't want to be too obvious about it. So I'm going to go. So I'm playing around with a G7 arpeggio. There are lots of ways to do it, but that's one. F, then A. That one stuck a little bit more to the ba-da-ba, da-da-ba for A. That's B flat. Same idea, two notes and everything. And then I add another little idea just so it doesn't get too obvious. And then back to F. So from there, you're pretty much free. The F to D minor, you can do anything you want. What I would suggest is kind of try to keep a simple phrase and have it be a continuation of some of the ideas that you've been doing. If you're starting down here, one of the great advantages of that is it allows you to build up. Also, hey, if I'm going to a G chord, here's my G. all kinds of advantages to knowing where your chords are. We'll talk about this more in a future lesson. But for now, just mess around with the Dock the Bay. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Please subscribe to my channel to catch all the lessons as they come online. You can always visit me at calvandersound.com, where you can get materials that go along with each lesson, and you can contact me there as well. So I look forward to hearing from you, and have fun with this stuff. I'll see you soon.